How often do you find yourself unable to focus? How many times have you found yourself unable to concentrate on work when you needed to meet an important deadline? Especially in a digital world like ours, while it is true that technology has done us wonders, apps like TikTok, Instagram, and even YouTube Shorts got us on a never-ending loop of scrolling through short-span videos that keep our attention span so short. I can't lie and say that I wasn't a victim of this very issue, but what if I told you that there's this one habit that can solve this issue entirely? A few years ago, I started reading books. I got this very recommendation from an entrepreneur, and I was pretty young, like about 12 or even 13. The way I saw it back then, there are two ways of growing as a person. Either I learn from my mistakes, which was the hard way, or I can simply read a book. The thing is that when you read a book, you're getting years worth of experience all condensed into one book, which felt ludicrous to me. It felt as if I could get another person's experience without even having to go through any of the hardships they went through. But the benefits were just insane to me, to the point where I still make sure that reading is a daily habit of mine. You see, multiple research papers and articles have mentioned that reading books does improve concentration. Quote, "When reading, we focus on what we read. In everyday life, you will concentrate more. When we are reading, we sit in a certain place and keep a distance from distractions. It is the way we try to concentrate on what we're reading. If we do it regularly, this is more likely to improve our concentration." So we've mentioned how important books are in terms of helping us improve our concentration, help us gain experience from others, learn from others, and so on. And truth be told, it's not like people don't acknowledge that reading helps you and improves you as a person overall. I mean, literally every successful person reads books since they know how important books are. The real question is how you can turn reading into a habit so you can also enjoy all of these benefits associated with reading. My first tip for making reading become a habit of yours would be to create a distraction-free environment for you to read books. We live in an age where distractions are literally everywhere. The moment you turn on your phone, you're swarmed with notifications that keep you engaged with your phone, or you simply fall down that never-ending scrolling pitfall on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. The best way to cope with that is to put the book you want to read in front of you to the point where it feels a must to read that book. It becomes obvious that there's a book on your bed, for example, waiting to be read. On top of that, to avoid distractions, you'd have to put your phone on Do Not Disturb so you won't be swarmed with notifications. And if that seems a little bit too extreme for you, you can always set certain contacts to be able to contact you in case of an emergency. Now, in case you're a digital reader, I'd suggest putting Kindle or the reader app you use on your home screen. That way, the first app you see is Kindle rather than TikTok or Instagram or any other app that distracts you. In addition to that, I highly recommend making a sacred place to read, since every habit is triggered by a cue in our brain, and the more cues we make, the easier it is to commit to a certain habit. For example, your brain may associate you sitting on the couch as a trigger to watch Netflix, and so the moment you sit on the couch in the living room, you automatically start watching Netflix. You can use this to your advantage by creating your own designated place to read. It could be a recliner in the living room, or perhaps you can read on your balcony or front porch. You really have got endless options. But I just avoid reading on bed because reading on bed can get you to fall asleep. My second tip would be to make reading attractive. For example, you can start talking to your friends or even family members about a book you've read and have an entire conversation about it. This works pretty well if you've got people in your life who genuinely like reading, because you can all just engage in conversations about books you've read, all of which can push you into reading more books. In case you don't have a community that likes reading books, you've got two options. Either you can join a book club or even start one. That way, reading can become the norm in your life, since you've got a community that considers it the norm. The second option would be to make a Goodreads account and engage with other users on books you've read. For example, a lot of members leave book reviews and converse around books they've read, all of which can make reading attractive to you since it becomes a key part of your life. My third tip would be to read one page per day. If reading seems daunting to you and time consuming, you can simply just read one page a day. A lot of people tend to set huge goals such as reading one book a week or even reading 30 books a year, and while it is true that such goals can be in fact accomplished, most people don't stick to these goals simply because they're daunting. The average book size is between 200 to 400 pages. With that being said, reading one page a day means that you'll be able to read a book a year. which is already progress on its own. And while it is true that one page a day doesn't seem that significant, but sometimes you just have to start doing the work, and the rest you'll be achieving with a state of flow. Another suggestion to make reading easy would be to read in the early mornings. That's what I personally do. Reading in the morning is particularly advantageous due to the fact that you do have the energy the moment you wake up and the discipline to sit down and start reading. Discipline requires energy, which is why it is recommended in general to do your most consuming and important tasks in the early morning. While this may seem obvious, but a lot of people tend to worry about what other people say. This behavior causes us to follow suit and listen to their recommendations instead of following our own interests. If you're the type of person that enjoys romance novels, for example, read romance books. You don't have to read fiction, for example, just because someone else told you to do so. Another recommendation of mine would be to read what is useful to you. Life is full of ups and downs, and as mentioned before, books hold a lot of value in terms of experience. It's good to have a book that can help you solve a hardship you're going through or perhaps assist you with a challenge, since you'll naturally be satisfied with it as long as you'll be accomplishing something in the process. With that being said, if you do want to start your reading habit, I've put a book I've read before about creating habits that has helped me tremendously in the description below. And if you like this video, then please subscribe. Peace.